Okay, so this video goes through number 27 through 36 on your test review. So number 27, write the equation for the model and solve it. So the equation, these are 3 positive x's because there's no negatives in front of them. So I'll write that as 3x. And these are 2 negative 1, so I'm going to write it as minus 2 equals 2x plus 3. So I know I want to isolate my variable. I want to get x by itself. So when I'm looking at my model, I can see that I have some of the same on each side. So since I have 2 positive x's on both sides, I can actually just remove those 2 positive x's from both sides. And using my equation, I do the same thing. So by removing 1, I have 1 x left. So I'm just going to write that as x minus 2 equals, and now I have no x's on the right side, so now I just have 3. Okay, so I want to get x by itself, and I have this minus 2, or 2 negatives over here. So I'm going to add 2 positive ones to get rid of the 2 negative ones. So adding 2 positive ones, or 2 positives. Now I have to keep it balanced on both sides. So I'm going to add 2 positive ones on the other side. So adding 2 positives to the other side, I'm left with nothing on this side. It's going to cancel out. And all I have is x. And then 3 plus 2, now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So x equals 5. Number 28, solve for the value of x in the equation below. Okay, so I'm going to draw my model, so those of you who would like to do the model can. So I have 5 positives and 7 negatives. Equals negative 10 negative 10x I'm just going to use red for negatives. You can shade yours n plus 8. So this one's not quite as easy as the last one. I'm going to write the equation over here so I can solve it side by side. Because I can't just take away the 5x's and 5x's on the other side because those aren't the same. So instead, I'm going to get rid of the 5x's on the left side because I want to get x onto one side by adding 5 negative x's. So I'm adding 5 negative x's. And I have to do it to both sides or I'm not keeping it balanced. That's what that equal sign means I have to do. If I add something to one side, I have to add it to the other. So I added 5 negatives, which gets rid of them on the left side. And they cancel each other out. But I have to add to the other side. So looking at my equation, now we're left with negative 7 equals negative 15x, which is easier to see with the model. You can see I have 15 negative x's plus 8. Okay, so I want to get x by itself, and I have all of these positive 8s over here with x. So I'm going to add 8 negatives. And I'm going to do the same the other side. So I've added 8 negatives. Sorry, let me fix that. I've added 8 negatives here and 8 negatives here. So I added 8 negatives to the -7. Now I have -15. And by adding 8 negatives on the right side, they've canceled out. All I have left is -15x. Okay, so I want to divide these up into equal groups. So I'm going to divide up by -15. And I know that one negative would go with 15 of the negative x's, but I don't want to know. So I'd end up with, if I were to pair them up, it would look like this. I'd have a negative with a negative, right? Well, I don't want to know what a negative x is. I really want to know what a positive x is. So we know when I take a negative and divide by a negative that I actually end up with a positive. Or I also know whatever I do to one, I have to do to the other. So I could flip both of these over. If I flip both of them over, I'm left with x equals +1. So over here, -15 divided by -15 would be a +1. So x equals 1. Number 29, which of the following scenarios can be modeled with the equation 255 plus 150x is greater than 235x plus 215? Okay, so I'm looking for an equation where the rate of change is 150 and the constant is 255. And then on the right side that the rate of change is 235 and the constant is 215. So rent-a-tent rents party tents for a flat fee of 255. Okay, so that's good so far. Plus a daily fee of 150. A daily fee means it's happening more than once. So this would be my rate of change. Great, they go together. Superior Rentals rents party tents for $215 per day. Well, $215 per day doesn't represent what I see here. Plus a flat fee of $235. Okay, so this isn't working because I need my $235 to be my rate of change. So A is not correct. Continuing on, Rent-A-Tent rents party rentals for a flat fee of $255 plus a daily fee of $150. That's like the first one. We already said that was correct. Superior Rentals rents party tents for $235 per day. 235x plus a flat fee of $215. A flat fee meaning it's only being charged once. So far, that's all right. So now we need to check my symbol, greater than. For what number of days X will the cost of rent-a-tent, so rent-a-tent was my first part of my equation, be equal to the cost of superior rentals? Well, equal. No, that's not correct. This is a greater than symbol, so B is not my answer. Going to C, rent-a-tent rents party rentals for a flat fee of $255 plus a daily fee of $150. Superior Rentals rents tents for $235 per day plus a flat fee of $215. So that's just like B. So far we're good. For what number of days X will the cost of rent-a-tent exceed the cost of Superior Rentals? Exceed means to be more than. When will it be greater than? So looking at my symbol, that is my greater than symbol because the greater space, the distance from here to here, is greater than this distance, the little space here. So this is my greater than symbol, so C is my correct choice. Oops. Number 30. Jules has $1,200 and is spending $40 per week. Kelsey has $400 and is saving $50 a week. And how many weeks will Jules and Kelsey have the same amount of money? Okay, so in this case, I actually am going to have to write an equation and solve it. So I have $1,200 and is spending 40 per week. So I'm going to have 1,200 and spending 40 per week. So I'm decreasing by 40 per week. I want to know when they're going to have the same amount of money, so equal to. And Kelsey has $400 and is saving. So we're going to add $50 per week, so 50x. And I need to solve this. So I need to get x by itself. So I'm going to go ahead and add 40x to get rid of the x over here. And I'm going to add 40x to the right side as well. So 1200 equals 400 plus 90x. Now I need to get x by itself, so I need to get this 90x isolated. So I'm going to get rid of the 400 by adding negative 400 to both sides. And I'll be left with 800 equals 90x. Okay, so now I'm going to divide by 90. And it looks like I'm going to get a little bit, let's see, you might want to go to your calculator for this, but if I do 800 divided by 90, looks like I'm getting 8.8. So I'm not really seeing an answer here. So I'm going to pause for a minute. I want you to go back, see if you can find my mistake. But I'm going to see if I made a mistake here. Okay, so I'm not seeing a mistake. Maybe you saw a mistake, but 8.8 is actually what I got. I guess we could say the answer was A because it's the closest, but I've double checked my work, checked to make sure my equation was correct. 1200 minus 40x equals 400 plus 50x. I checked my solving to make sure I did that correctly, and I'm just not seeing a mistake. So 8.8 is the actual correct answer. There is no correct answer otherwise. Now 8.8, that's more like 9 weeks, so you might say 9 weeks, something like that, but check your, or edit your test review so that it matches the work there. Okay, number 31, Finley has $50 saved for her beach trip. She can earn $8 an hour babysitting. Her sister Madison has $35 saved and can earn $9 an hour at the farm patch. If both girls work the same number of hours at the job, which inequality best represents the number of hours worked when Madison will have more than Finley? Okay, so remember that Madison is the one that's $35 saved and can earn $9 an hour at the farm patch. So let's find that expression. So I'm looking for the expression 35 plus 9x, or 9x plus 35. Okay, so it looks like I can get rid of f and I can get rid of h. And I'm left with G or J. And I want Madison to have more money than Finley. So I need this 35 plus 9x, or 9x plus 35, to be the one that is greater. So let's look at G first. 9x plus 35, less than. Well, I don't want it to be less than, I need it to be more than. So let's look at J, 35 plus 9x, greater than. So J has to be my answer, but let's make sure the other side matches. Finley has $50. She can earn $8 an hour babysitting, 8x. So J is my answer. Okay, number 32, which statement is equivalent to the inequality 4x plus 24 is greater than or equal to 8x minus 16? So remember, we solve inequalities the same as equations, except for the rule of flipping the sign if we multiply or divide by a negative. So 4x plus 24, I can see I have a 4x on both sides, so I could actually just take away the 4x from both sides, leaving me with 4x minus 16. And the 24 is greater than 4x minus 16. I'm going to rewrite that so I have a little bit more space. I want to get x by itself, so I'm going to add 16 to both sides. And I'll get 40 is greater than 4x. And then I'm going to divide by 4, and I get 10 is greater than x. Now, if 10 is greater than x, I'm going to rewrite this, because if 10 is greater than x, that means x is less than 10. And sorry, at some point I lost that equal to symbol. I was wondering what was wrong. So let me fix that. X is less than or equal to 10. Number 33, if the measure of angle 4 equals 115 degrees, what is the measure of angle 2? Okay, so if you recall learning about transversals, this would be 115 degrees, but then we also learned that my vertical angle is the same. We know that my adjacent angles that form a line make 180 degrees. So 180 minus 115 gives me that other angle, or angle 2, which is 65 degrees. Well, we know this is also 65 degrees. We know this then is 115 and 115 and 65 and 65. We know that 4 on the bottom is equal to those on the top. So really, the question asks us just what the measure of angle 2 is, but we talked about all of them. So the measure of angle 2 is 65 degrees. Okay, 34, which equation could be used to find the value of x? Well, I'm going to look at the two angles. Okay, so looking at the two angles, I can see that they are congruent angles, because I know that this one would be congruent to this vertical angle, and then I know that this one is corresponding to this one. They're in the same place. So they're all equal to each other. If they're equal, that means I could actually write an equation that represents that. So 2x minus 10 equals 65 minus x. So looking for that equation, well, the only one that matches is just written backwards of what I wrote. 65 minus x equals 2x minus 10. So J. Number 35, what is the value of J in the diagram below? Well, you should recall that our exterior angle can be found by taking our two remote interior angles. So not the angle next to it, but the two opposite angles, that if I ripped them off, that they'd actually fit inside of here. They would fit right next to each other. I would put them next to each other. So to symbolize that, we just add them, 65 plus 35. 65 plus 35 gives me 100. And that's what J would be. So D is 100. I mean, number 35 is D, 100. Now, some people always, they want to take 180 and take away 100 and get 80, but that represents this inside angle. I don't want the inside angle. I want that outside angle. So the outside angle is just this, the two angles added together, which equals 100 degrees. Oops. Okay, so number 36, which equation could be used to find the value of x? Well, I know that these two should fit inside here. So in other words, 2x plus 2x should equal 24 minus 4x. So finding the one that says that, it's not equal to 180. So 2x plus 2x equals 24 minus 4x, H.